Greetings, Darklings, from across the interwebs. It is once again I, the Duchess, Precious Ken, for the Sounds and Shadows podcast. Today, I am rocking my delicious new Boot Blacks t-shirt with their blockbuster theme. That's who's sponsoring today. That's what we're going to say. But we're always excited about Boot Blacks. And as always, I have an awesome guest. We get the best guests. I have awesome guests. Mr. Mark Paradise, hello, Mark. It's good to have you on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thanks, Ken.
I want to get started because, usually what we do here is bands and, it's kind of has a specific format and clips along, but it's a little different because you're such an intricate part of the music scene and involved in it and have been a long time, but it's not so much from playing in a band but both as a DJ, a promoter for events, and you are heading up or running one of the most exciting new music festivals for our scene, the Absolution Festival.
Right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you.
So start out telling me a little bit about, I kind of touched on a couple of the projects that you're doing there, but just tell our viewers who might not know you, who are you, how'd you get involved in this scene, and maybe a little bit about your history at the castle and what that is, and just give us a picture.
Sure, I will do my best. Let's see, how did I get into the scene? That's like a fully loaded question. I got into the scene back in the 80s, so I'm a little older. I guess I'm giving away my age. So I started clubbing in the 80s, and then, just fell in love with the scene. I mean, in general, going out all the time, going out, listening to music, seeing the concerts. And, as time went on, we just, they opened up the club, like you mentioned, the Castle here in Ybor, which I believe was in 90. I could be completely wrong, but I want to say it started around 96 or 97, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
And then we had clubs prior to that, and then we started going out to that club. And Castle's still going to this day. It's one of the longest running, if not the longest running, goth industrial club in the United States. It's definitely got to be one of the two. Because they do every single weekend, Friday and Saturday nights. So they're not just doing like once a month parties or anything like that. It's a actual club that stays open, and they do a very good crowd. I DJ'd there for 20 plus years. Luckily, Tom Gold, who is the main DJ at the club, or he's the resident, he's the one who started the club. Mm-hmm. I became friends with him and started DJing there, and I DJ'd there for about 20 plus years up until when the pandemic happened. And so maybe I'll go back, who knows, but right now I'm not DJing in clubs at this point. I have other things that we're working on, like you mentioned, like with Absolution Fest and promoting concerts and my podcast I've been doing for 13 years. So.
Yeah, you mentioned the podcast there. Tell me a little bit about that. It's Communion After Dark. And tell me about some of the formats that you do that and how you do it, because it is different than just a, standard DJ show or something, maybe like you'd see on Twitch.
Right. Well, Communion After Dark just started off again. That was, like I mentioned, was about 13 and a half years now. And that was just an idea that we had because we were at the club, and me and my friend, and we were talking about starting up something where we could get more music out that maybe wasn't played in a club. Mm-hmm. And that was the initial idea behind it, plus to get people interested in buying the music and hearing the music. And so then it just kind of went from there. And the podcast was always, a little different because we don't just do a straight music stream mix. So that I guess makes it a little different because we do a little bit of talking in the podcast. Sometimes I think when we first started out, people were kind of like taken back by that, but I think now they're used to it. And now since the pandemic started, we've been having guests on from bands and stuff, and they've been doing guest DJ sets and stuff. So yeah, it's a fun time.
Yeah, I actually love that a lot about you guys. It's something that obviously, we care about doing too. And when I'm watching various stream DJs, which is obviously because of the pandemic, a much bigger thing now and taken off. But to me, I love hearing background, getting a little information, and kind of like you said, that idea of instead of just going to the club and hearing Floodlands 20 times, like playing new music, getting people excited about new bands that happened after the late 70s and 80s and aren't just the same old club hits. And part of that is people need to feel a personal connection to that. So I feel like your show does a really good job of, let me tell you about this band a little bit so that you feel in touch with it. And then I spin the tune and now you're all in.
Right. Well, I wholly appreciate that. I mean, that was our goal, was to get out, new music. That's what we've always done.
Yeah.
We were not we're not the normal stream where you're going to hear a large amount of the older stuff. I believe there's enough of those streams out there. And I love the old music. I'm not saying I don't. I absolutely love it. And I have a ton of it. But, but the point behind the podcast was to get the newer releases out and help out the bands. And hopefully maybe some people, decide to buy the music, and which is what we've always pushed. I love buying music, as you can see. So
I do see you have quite a collection back there. Do you know the number of what you have behind you there, just because you're, that kind of a nerd, keeping a spreadsheet?
I honestly don't completely know anymore, because the music goes from here where you're seeing now, but it goes all the way around. And then wow. I have a bunch of records as well. So I probably have somewhere in upwards of around 8,000 CDs, maybe.
That's awesome.
And records, I don't know, a couple thousand, somewhere in that area.
How do you feel like that's kind of changed for you in terms of when you're doing a DJ set, whether you're spinning in a club or doing Communion After Dark? How much do you really like having the physical media in your hand? Or have you done the transition over to what's a lot more common now, and streaming, digital, everything on your laptop?
I never did. That's the sad part, I guess, maybe in some ways. I mean, I have done it a little bit more I've learned a little bit more now with the Twitch thing that we've been doing. But other than that, no, I've never really DJ'd too much off of just a computer. I've always used physical. I know that that's not necessarily that's the way of the dinosaur nowadays, but
I think, though, that there's definitely a niche for that. And I think beyond a niche, I don't know. I feel that way a lot. Look, I get a lot of digital music and, Bandcamp and download. But if I'm really into something and play it a few times on Bandcamp, I want to hold it in my hands. I want to smell it. I need to touch it, and so I need the record, or I need the CD. And I do think that there's a place for both in this scene, and that's cool. I mean, if you really care about something that way.
Sure. I love music, and I prefer to have physical copies of what I'm listening to. I prefer to, but I mean, I'm fine with the digital as well. I mean, I have that as well. So I mean, I've kind of adapted in that respect. But as far as the DJing thing goes, I've never really taken the time out to put music on a program and DJ from a program. I just haven't done that. At least not yet.
Yeah, I'll tell you, as being in a band for Ameren, I know for us the big change is as I got older, I got real sick of carrying amps and guitars and everything. And so now we have gotten rid of all amps, everything is direct line in, and we can show up there with a box that I carry in my hair, or like a backpack, and set up from that. And I'm never going back. It's the best thing in the world. I don't know why I didn't do it 10 years ago. My back could probably feel better.
That's probably, no, I don't blame you. That's probably part of the reason why I'm not DJing in a club right now, because I'm not really interested in carrying a bunch of physical media out anywhere.
No, I hear you. All right. So the real thing that we wanted to talk about the most with you is Absolution Fest.
Right.
And this is an incredibly exciting event. I mean, from doing all these interviews that I have with other people, whether it's, actors, bootblacks, a lot of this, so many people said, Wingtips, this show was special for them 2 years ago when they did it. And it just, they use words like, lightning in a bottle, but just the bands that you put together, the setup for them, just was a special event and a way to have fans get a chance to connect with all these bands and the energy of it. Tell me a little bit about how the idea of Absolution Fest came together and why it was so special to you.
That's a good question. As far as how it came together, with a large amount of things that I do, it's just a thought process. There was actually one evening, I'm sure it was probably before we were getting ready to go out to the castle, and I was spending time with a friend of mine, and we were just talking, and I came up with an idea. Because this friend who some people may know or may not on the internet, she goes by DJ Winters, and she has a podcast as well. But she was playing, post-punk, dark wave for a while. She started her podcast, I think, back in 2014.
Love her show. Love her show.
Yeah,
great show.
And so when I was talking to her about that, I was like, hey, why? Because I was already promoting concerts, so I came up with the idea at the time. I'm like, why not start a festival up a couple days, with post-punk, because and dark wave bands. And I mean, it wasn't just specifically that style of music, but that was originally the concept behind what we were talking about at the time. And then I just took it from there, and I hooked up with my other partner, which is Pete Olin from Endoxa Booking, who does a large amount of concerts in Florida. And I discussed it with him, and we agreed to do a partnership and started the festival up.
Nice. That's really, really cool. What and maybe this is interesting too. I know it is to me. So to some of our listeners, what kind of things do you had to start thinking about that you never had before when promoting a show of this size, right? You said you'd been doing bookings and working on that, but this is a different beast, right? I mean, you're talking about 10 bands over the course of multiple days. What was kind of, if you could go back to yourself at the very beginning of it and tell that younger Mark something.
It's hard to say really, Ken. I had done a festival a couple years prior to that, a one-day thing, which was an industrial underground. I don't even remember what we called it. I did it with the guy from Ludovico Technique, Ben, who's a singer and started the band. And we actually got together and did a one-day thing where we had like 8 bands. And it was more industrial oriented, harder electro, I guess, whatever, sounding. But so we put that together. So I kind of had at least a little experience with doing multiple bands in one day. As far as then going over to multiple days of it, that was, like I mentioned, with hooking up with Pete, because Pete is an expert at promoting and booking bands and so on. He had done a festival previously as well. So we just kind of worked together and came up with the ideas. And it really wasn't that much of a difference from going from one day to 2 days to, now we're at 3 days. So we'll see how that goes. But no, it wasn't, it wasn't that much, because, the main thing was just get the venue, get the bands, and then, work on the other stuff from there. So it didn't change too much from when we did that one day thing to start off.
Was there anything that kind of went into your thought process because part of, again, what I was hearing that was so special about this is just the way that even the bands that didn't know each other kind of just became fast friends and family. And you had a sense of who would fit perfectly and congeal with the group of fans that you had bringing into the venue. What kind of things went into you deciding this is the band that we need to bring in here, this would match with this? Can you take me a little bit through that process of kind of how you think about that?
I'd love to give you a great answer, Ken. My whole thing is that I think I know the music, and I'm not trying to sound egotistical here, but because of the fact that I've been into the scene for so long, and then I was doing Community After Dark, and we've been, I have a large amount of friends who I can reach out to who know the bands. And I just think over time, like with knowing all that stuff, luckily, it was probably more luck than anything else. I was able to piece together bands that I thought would fit well together for the first Absolution. At least I thought they would. And and then we worked it out to where we were lucky enough that most of these bands said yes. So many of my experiences too come from, I've been to Germany to go to these large festivals in Germany. So I had nothing to do with them, but I was able to see how they worked and how they set it up and all that stuff. I've been over there at least 11 or 12 times. So
Oh, wow.
that helped out as well, I think, with maybe putting this together, because I took some background from just going over there, seeing how quickly they would bring a band on, bring a band off, and then just an idea as to what worked well as far as like, when we would go, a good schedule of bands, because I wanted to put together bands that everybody, would enjoy, and that worked well together as well. And there wasn't like a large amount of like, where sometimes you'll have like bands and then you'll throw in a band that nobody wants to see, not, but whoever that may be. And it just throws all the people off. So the goal was to try and keep it flowing and keep people happy, and keep the rhythm going, basically, more or less.
I imagine actually it probably is. I mean, you talk about, 20 years spinning records in clubs and stuff. The concept or the skill set has to be a lot the same between deciding how to make a good set flow and deciding how to make a festival flow. You know what I mean? It's not this, apples to apples, but there's definitely some overlap in terms of the skill set there, to just knowing, like you said, ebbs and flows, how it feels, and knowing when you get those personalities together in one place, how that's going to flow together.
Yeah, I definitely, and the funny thing is, I never even thought about any of this until I just brought it up myself about like going to those festivals. But I do feel that played a big part in it, because there was a large amount of when we would go, we would complain about, oh well, why is this not happening, or why they could have this band here, and it would make it that much more exciting instead of having the band play across town. Well, this band's playing, so I think that may have helped a little bit, but again, it was probably more luck than anything else. But, the goal was to try and keep each band interesting and that people wanted to see. And it seemed to work out, which I'm happy the bands enjoyed themselves. That was very important. So,
Yeah. Well, I want to do some quick hits now, because this lineup is sick. It's absolutely incredible. And I love the way that it's progressed and grown. And you have some of the same bands coming back that were at some of the previous ones. You've added a lot of new ones, and I'd like to kind of fire through. So I'm gonna read you names, and then I want you to tell me a little bit of just quickly why you're excited that you were able to bring in this band.
Okay, I'll do my best.
That's all we can ask, is to do your best. Okay, so I'll start on the 7th. Kareen. They were at the first one, correct?
Yes, they were. Great band live. I love their last album they put out, which I believe came out last year, if I'm not mistaken. Just really enjoyed their whole setup, and they're great. I mean, it's just the fact that they were so great to watch live, and they brought so much energy and excitement. I'm happy that they decided to come back.
Yeah,
they were one of the last bands we got, and I'm very excited to see them again.
Yeah, just a really cool, I don't know, tweener band in terms of genre. You know what I mean? Like a little shoegaze, a little like dark post-punk mixed in. It's a lot of parts there, and just very cool sound. They're Pittsburgh, correct?
I believe they're out of somewhere in the area. I don't believe it's Pittsburgh necessarily, but it's somewhere in the area. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to keep flowing on this. Next up, Sign and Curse Mackey, coming from Texas. You guys have a lot of Texas bands in, which has an amazing scene, so that's really, really cool.
Well, Curse is somebody I've known for a long time. Rona, who's behind Sign, I've known her for a little while as well. They're both extremely nice people, extremely talented artists as well. Curse has been, in the scene for so long. Plus, he used to live in Orlando, Tampa area for many years. Yep, before he moved to Texas. So he did live in this area. He used to be a regular out here. But no, I'm just thrilled to have both of them. I mean, Kirsten, I had promoted a show for them a couple years ago, and they played here, and they both did a great job. And then Kirst came back and played with My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult as well, which we promoted. So that was a great show as well. But he, no, yeah, it's just I'm happy to have them. I mean, their history speaks for itself. Kirst has been in so many bands.
Yeah, Evil Others and Pigface, and like you said, My Life with the Thrill Cult. And I'm really excited. Rona has a new album that's coming out soon, and it's absolutely fabulous. And I think the other thing that's really interesting about both of them is how much they do in other alternative multimedia. Like,
Yes.
you know, like when you go to the merch booth for a Kershaw or sign, hand done art pieces that kind of go, I mean, you talk about physical media, they go to the next level with stuff like that, which I always just find really cool and interesting about bands. And in 2019 he had the album come out, which was kind of like his first solo thing. You know, he's always been a part of other projects, so I was just so impressed with getting to really hear his voice 100%, you know, on record. So that's a very exciting addition. And so this is all on the first night still. And now you're going to have to tell me a little bit, because I don't know about these. Gulf Boulevard.
Mm-hmm. They are a local band who I think more people should know about. They mix synthwave, darkwave together. They're kind of like maybe like you said, a tweener band, but I think it seems to lean more towards the dark wave genre. A very talented artist who I think has got a large amount of upside as far as like his future goes. I mean, if he's pursuing, you know, and pushing his music and stuff. But I definitely think people will be very excited about that show. And then Cold Medicine, he is the lead singer of Sleeping Pills, which is a local post-punk band. Sleeping Pills is toured a little bit too, so maybe some people might know them a little bit more. But Cold Medicine's his like side project that he does. It's a little more electronic, a little more avant-garde. Really cool show that he puts on. I saw him do one already, and previously where we had him back in a couple of years ago, and he was great. Phenomenal, fun show, and
very cool.
Puts on a large amount of energy.
Nice. All right, so that's just on the first night. So, oh, by the way, this festival is going to take place October 7th through October 9th. And you've got a couple different venues there, right?
Yes, we're using two venues. We're using Crowbar for the first couple of days, which is October 7th and October 8th. And then October 9th, we're going to use the Orpheum, which is a little bit of a bigger venue. It holds more people, but they're both good-sized venues for the shows. So
the second night, obviously, I'm very excited for it because it's a lot of bands very near and dear to my heart that I love. Let's start off here, Bellwether Syndicate. I mean, Chicago, I know that, you know, they've been around a long time with, I mean, not the band itself, but the people involved, and Sarah and
right.
You know. So tell me a little bit about Bellwether Syndicate.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, Bellwether Syndicate, I was turned on to by Obscure Undead, which is another local.
Yeah,
I know you know
good
them.
friends of ours, love them dearly.
Well, and Mouse, who's part of Community After Dark, is part of Obscure Undead as well. They have brought William and Sarah down to DJ for an event, and you know, just I knew I also know that they were on tour with Zymox previously and all that, and just like you said, the history behind William Faith and all the stuff he's done, you know, and then Sarah has been in the scene forever. I mean, as well, DJing and you know, in Chicago and stuff. So yeah, no, I mean, I just knew enough about them that I knew they would be a great addition if we could get them. And luckily they said yes. So
super. I mean, Sarah's amazing and just like has this energy that just overwhelms you, you know, when you're around her and see her. But William, I'll tell you, I don't know that I've ever seen anybody on stage that looks more rock star in my head when I see him perform on stage. When he is up there, I mean, there's just something about that guy that he looks the part of exactly what I want to see from a front man. He just kind of has that attitude about him, and
That's
I love
awesome.
it. And super sweet dude too. Like,
Yeah.
so no, very exciting. Man, that night is stacked. Rose Garden Funeral Party, who I've never seen live, but just again a kind of very interesting, different sound, in that I don't a lot of rock, not so much just like dark wave or
Right.
shoegaze or anything like
Right.
that. There's a lot of like just rock and roll badassness to that band.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, I've enjoyed the music I've heard. I've never seen them perform live as well, but I know that in this area there was a few people who absolutely love Rose Garden, and from what I've heard, I love her music.
Yeah,
She has that presence on stage, like you said about William too. It comes across in the videos I've seen that
sure.
she looks like it'll be an exciting live show for sure, and yeah, she's got like that glam Susie type thing
Very
going
much,
on,
very much.
which is awesome. I mean, I think
And
there'll
a
be a
belter
great show.
voice too. Absolute belter voice.
Very excited to see that band. Yes.
Yeah. Um, okay, another one here that are very near dear to me, good friends of mine. Zach actually played guitar on a song for one of our songs.
Oh, nice.
So the Kentucky Vampires, who also just like put the rock back into gothic rock. They have just fretboard fireworks, like true Axmaster guitar, like Mission UK in their goth elements, and
Hmm.
just absolutely love the sound. A little bit of southern feel too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the bands, like the three you mentioned were bands I originally had scheduled for 2020. And Kentucky Vampires, I knew about from, I didn't really know much about their music. I can't honestly sit here and say I knew a whole large amount, but a couple of friends of mine who knew Zach, and turned me on to the band. And then I heard their stuff. And yeah, I just like the sound. I mean, the goth sound. I mean, I thought it was a good fit for the festival. And I'm glad that they decided to come back. I mean, they're a Florida band, or well, he's in Florida anyways.
Yeah.
I don't know about all the members of the band. I really have no clue about that part, but no, I'm excited to see them because I mean, from what I've heard and from what people have told me, yeah, like you mentioned, they're great. And I mean, I like the songs I've heard, so I think they're a good fit for what we're trying to do. I think all three of those bands are, so I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I really like to kind of like we talked about earlier, knowing, I don't know, the flow of a show like you would a DJ set. I think putting the Kentucky Vampires in there in the middle of that second day with a little more teeth to it, you know what I mean? A little harder edge is really gonna give a shot in the arm of energy to kind of, lead into the end of that second night. And just absolutely exciting when you talk about two bands that are so close to my heart and so incredible, Boot Blacks and Actors. You guys had them before, correct?
Right.
um
Right.
but always an absolutely stellar and amazing show. I don't think there's anybody in post-punk right now that is doing more to revitalize and excite this scene than Jason and Actors, and the way that he's kind of lifted up by producing them Boot Blacks to go with that.
I agree. No, I mean they were great. I mean, 2019 when they were here, they blew the doors off. The venue. I was actually surprised at the time that how many people were just so thrilled at that point just to see Actors because they weren't. I mean, they had only been out for a short period of time making music, but the venue was packed. People came out just for that show. I mean, and he didn't disappoint. And plus, Jason's one of the nicer people you're going to meet.
Yeah.
Very humble, very down to earth, which I really liked as well. And Boot Blacks, same thing, great people and just a phenomenal live show. And yeah, their sound is more people should be listening to them. That's for sure. If they're not, and Jason's extremely talented, with all the production he does for all these other bands and everything. You can't go wrong with either of those bands.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I think they're another band that people really need to, even if you have, Actors or Bootblack's records, it is
Right.
not, they're one of those bands you've got to see live to appreciate. Like Actors in particular, I think when you hear the album, it has a very, I don't know, synth feel, like, dark wave post punk feel. But when you hear it live, you realize that Jason was a metal fan for a long time, and you get a different show when you see it live in terms of the teeth that are coming through in the guitar and the way it's coming at you. And Bootblack's the same way. I mean, I remember hearing albums for Panther, but when you hear him unload on stage as a frontman, it's a totally different animal in the way that Allie and Barrett and all of it's just, I don't know, a different experience when you see bands like that live. And we kind of talked earlier about knowing, being in the scene for a long time. And to me,
Right.
I would much rather at this stage in my life at 43, where I've seen a lot of the older bands and so on and so forth, any day of the week, I would rather pay to see, Actors, Bootblacks, bands like that than a 64-year-old Peter Murphy. You know what I mean? I
I
saw
understand what
that.
you're saying.
And like you said, it's great and I love it. But give me a band like that in their absolute prime, crushing it every night on stage. That's the experience that you want when you throw down your hard-earned ticket money.
No, I agree. Actors, both those bands fit that mold. I mean, they're great live, and yeah, it's worth coming just for those two. I feel. I mean, I'm happy with everybody we've got, but they're great and they're worth the money. And yeah, Actors again, like you said, live, completely different experience. I mean, and the Actors got a very crossover. I'm not a big genre person. That maybe
Yeah,
that's another
either.
reason why this works better for me, because I really could care less about. I hate the genre terms, but I just like music.
Right.
So I mean, if music sounds good to me, then you know.
I
But
always say that genre is useful in saying if you like this band, you might like that band. And if the discussion goes any further than that, then it's the worst kind of wankery. Like,
exactly, yeah, I would tend to agree. But yeah, no, they're great, and I'm very excited for that day. All five of those bands, I think it'll be a very fun day, and I don't think that anybody will get bored. They're all going to put on great performances.
yeah. So now we're coming up on the final day, and here it goes over to the Orpheum. Um,
Hmm.
First band off, another Texas band, another friend of mine that I love. I'm so excited for this new album. We just did a review of her most recent video, Death Loves Veronica.
Right. Yeah, no, she is. Veronica just in general is she, again, one of the nicer people I've had experience. Now, I have not met her personally, but just talking to her online, great. And then she's so talented with the music she makes and her background. Plus, she's a big Danny Elfman fan, which I was growing up as well. So that also it gets a big A+ for me. But I love her style, I love her music, and extremely excited to see her live and get to meet her, as well.
Yeah, she's got an incredible presence. And I think with her music, the thing that gets me so much is it always feels so intimate. Like she has that, no matter how big the club is, you feel like you're in the tiny club in Twin Peaks or something. She has that way of just making, no matter how big the room is, it feels smaller. Like you're right up there, kind of in this lounge singer feel with, smoke and a
Uh-huh.
piano or something along with her. So absolutely astounding. That's going to be really exciting. A real exciting one here too. Good friends of ours from Cold Transmission have
Right.
Hollows. That's one of their bands, and a newer band, very fresh, very cool. Tell me a little bit why it excited you about having them.
I mean, all those, both Death Loves Veronica and Hallows are, because like you mentioned, they're both Cold Transmission
Both Cold
artists now.
Transmission. Yep.
She had just signed with Cold
Yep.
Transmission. And just hearing like a large amount of Cold Transmission over the last couple of years, I fell in love with a large amount of his artists. And Hallows puts out some great stuff from what I've heard. I mean, I really have enjoyed their music. So I was just really excited about the idea of bringing them down and playing live, I talked to Andreas, the guy behind Cold Transmission, just to get an idea on some bands he might have in the States that we could contact, and
Sure.
he gave me a few options, and we were lucky enough that they said yes. But yeah, I've not seen them live, so I don't know a whole large amount about their live setup, but I'm very excited to bring them down, and I think those bands to start off Saturday are going to be a great time.
You can't go wrong with Andy and Susie. Like they really truly know how to pick them, know how to find talent, and know how to grow it.
Yeah.
So they're amazing. And I think the thing for me with Hallows that works so well is a lost art in today's music a little bit, and that's the two singers that the songs feel like you're a part of a conversation. And I think that's something for me with them that always struck me, is the way that it really, I don't know, has that communicative feel that, like watching a play or something, almost like a dialogue to the back and forth of the music of it. So very exciting, very cool band. Next one up, another Cold Transmission one, Kiss of the Whip.
Yes.
Tell me why this one gets you fired up.
I'm not as eloquent as you, Ken, when it comes to talking, obviously, because I think you got more of a, you definitely got that beat. You got me beat in that area. But I will say this, but
is that what it is?
but let's Kiss of the Whip. I love his music. What I've heard, the electronic mixed with the darker sounds.
Yeah.
Great. Gets you pumped up, ready to dance. Tristan, who's behind Kiss of the Whip, another person that is extremely friendly, very fun to talk to. And I like working with bands as well who, especially in this thing, because Absolution's something we started off with, still, a smaller thing. And so it's good to, now it's building up a little bit more, which is good. But it's fun to work with artists that, you feel like, okay, we're trying to expose people to some of them who maybe not as many people know about. Nice people too to work with, and and his music, though, if you haven't heard it, I'm really thrilled because I got to see him. We did a little online stream through Twitch where he was one of the bands we had, and he did a video for us. I was blown away by his video. I mean, I wasn't sure what to expect, but it was great, and that alone was like, all right, yeah, I can't wait to see him live.
Yeah, no, Tristan is absolutely amazing. To me, I think one of the most underrated synthwave artists out there. I mean, it's just one of those bands I say to everybody. If you like that style of music, this is one of the freshest, tightest things that you're going to see in it. And I think, like you said, they do a really good job of blending a lot of dark elements in lyrically, so on and so forth. But the music has this bright, furious, like neon energy to it that it never loses, even when the songs go into a darker place. Kind of, I don't know, makes me like Pet Shop Boys or something like that. Whenever I think of them, that really pull off that we can tackle a deep, dark concept, but we're going to do it dancing our asses off, like playing something with these beautiful mixed layered keyboards. So
yeah, I'm excited about definitely that's one of the bands I was and I'm excited about all the bands there, but that's one that I've not gotten to see him live, and definitely thrilled to see his live show, especially after seeing that video, as I mentioned.
All right, we're coming up on three big names here. Starry Night.
Right. All right, Michael. Yep, I've known Michael for a while. And I love Michael. He's a very talented artist. If you've seen him before, they put on a very good live show. And just again, another very nice individual who's helped me out a large amount with Absolution as well from behind the scenes. He's helped me out with some ideas and stuff. So I'm excited to have him back one more time to play with us, because he did play in 2019. We're not, the goal was not to repeat a bunch of bands this year. We did have a few, but with the pandemic that happened, 2020, we did not really have originally many repeat bands. But then when that kind of ended, with us trying to get together a lineup for 2021, We did end up going back a little bit, which I'm happy actually with the bands that we brought back, because I think they were all great. And it was a couple of years ago. So I'm excited for the new people who are going to get to see these bands that didn't see them in 2019. But Michael's great. If you've never seen The Starry Night, you definitely need to. And he's got a very high ceiling, I think, as far as his music goes, if he continues.
Really cool voice too. I always love the vocals from them. I think the other thing too, that you brought up a second ago, and I keep hearing every single time when you're talking about these bands, and one of the things that made it work, Jason Corbett said to me from Actors, that one of the reasons this show is so special is that you got it, and that these people became part of the family. And they became friends as bands together, because you really, I think, did, whether it was conscious or unconscious, you went out of your way to find cool people who understood why music is important, and why the scene is important, and why lifting each other up is important. And I think, again, when you talk about it, everybody here is just a cool, chill person, and you call that out. That's what I hear from you, is the importance of that is just as big a part in 2021, because people have access to musicians through the internet in a way that wasn't true in 1991 or 1987 or whatever. And the expectation is that, yeah, you're someone that just, you could know them, and because they're humble, cool, caring people. And I think that's kind of great. I am fed up to death of kind of the days of a-hole rock stars. I'd much rather have somebody that was a cool person, and then I loved their music on top of that.
No, I agree. I mean, and it's nice to work with, individuals like that, especially when you have, like you mentioned, we're bringing in a large amount of bands. So, everybody has to be a little willing to, be patient and get along a little bit.
Somebody needs a drum key. Somebody needs a chord. Everybody's got to be chill.
Yeah. So, no, it works out well. And then, of course, the music part is a big part. And all these bands are very talented. That we brought in. That's the other goal, is to bring in very good musicians as well.
That's the other thing, again, kind of in 2021, is you have to be both. People are demanding at this point, you have to be both an exceptional band and a cool person. And frankly, I don't think that's too much to ask.
Nope, I agree with you. I agree. Not nowadays, it's not anyways.
So speaking of exceptional bands, Kanga.
Yeah.
Tell me about why this one excites you.
Kanga is very exciting. I've never had a chance to see her performance, but I love the most recent album that she put out, You and Me Will Never Die, or I believe that's what it's called. I could be wrong. But it is a great album. I liked her stuff previously. From what I've heard, I mean, her performances on stage are top notch. I know she toured with Gary Newman, who's also obviously one of my favorite artists of all time. But just excitement about the fact that to get somebody of her stature to come and play Absolution, I think was a big win for us.
Feather in your cap, for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm just excited to really just in general. I mean, we're looking forward to seeing her performance and getting the energy that she brings out to the crowd, because there was a large amount of people in this area who are very, very thrilled about the addition, and seemed like even people from out of state that I didn't know, were talking about how excited they were to see Kanga. So that's great. Yeah.
All right. Final one, and this is a big one, and another Texas, big state, great band, Mr. Kitty.
Yeah.
Just force of nature.
There's not much to say about Forrest other than he's I've met him a number of times. Very, very down to earth person. I mean, he's extremely talented. His music just takes you to another place. I mean, it makes you want to dance, makes you happy, gives you all those feelings that you deserve to have nowadays. I mean, with all the junk that goes on. So, and he's one of those artists that I love about him is that he he's very big in this scene especially.
Sure.
And he's even gone beyond that now. And he still does everything himself, which, I mean, most artists, when they get to where he's at, probably would be like, well, you know, now I need to have an agent and I need to do this and I need to do that. And he's not, you know, I give him credit. He's doing it himself. He's having a good time with it. And his music, I mean, come on, he put out a 30-track album 2 years ago. It's still good. 30 tracks.
I remember when I got that and I just thought, how are they this amazing to do 30 songs this good? It floored me. I listened to nothing but that album when it first came out for, it was a few weeks where every day I was getting ready to, I'd walk into work and I'd hit it and play like Disconnected Lover, and I'd just start walking in towards the office and kind of get that swagger going when you listen to it. And just the fact of doing 30 songs on that level, just spewing them out, is beyond me. Like, I know how hard it is to write a good song, and to just have that level of output is staggering. Wow.
I'm amazed by the stuff he's done. And I remember hearing his first stuff, you know, when it came out a number of years back, and I don't remember what year it was in, but at that time I was like, wow, you know, this is just great. And then with every album, it's just gotten that much better. And then we just talked to him on Community After Dark this past, actually the show we have up now, we did an interview with him, and he came on and did a DJ set, and he's planning to put out another 30-track album whenever I don't know when that's coming out, but that's what he's doing. So,
well,
more power to him.
Like, I wonder. Dang.
Yeah.
Okay. Mark, this has been incredible. Where can people go to get tickets for this amazing event?
Well, the easiest way would be here. Let me get this. You're gonna have to put this off the record because I have to find this link. I apologize, guys.
Okay. Can you go to the www.absolutionfest.com and purchase tickets that way?
I want to say, hold on one second.
Yeah, there is. There's a link. It says get them here.
Okay, because I didn't know, because Mouse was working on the website. That's why I said I had to check on this before I went and told you anything. All right, so yeah, here we go. I apologize.
There's a link right there on www.absolutionfest.com, and you can get the tickets that way, buying direct from the site.
Yep. Or you can just go into Google and Google Absolution Fest. It'll bring up the link. It's through Eventbrite. All the ticket options are on there. I mean, so yeah, you can either do it through Google or just go to our website, which I would prefer anyways. Go to absolutionfest.com, and it's on there. We also have a event up on Facebook, which is Absolution Fest 2021. Go to the event, click going, buy your tickets. The link is on the event as well. So, I mean, there's a number of different options, but I did the Google thing as well, and it brings up the Eventbrite link. So it's pretty easy.
Are there any kind of, when going and getting the ticket options, are you guys doing any kind of VIP options or anything like that people can get?
We have a number of different options for the tickets. So you can either buy single day tickets, which we're offering. If you can't go to every single day, or you want to just go to one day, we're offering 3-day passes. We offer a pass for the Friday and Saturday shows. So you have a lot of options. And then there is one VIP one, which is, we have only a handful of those tickets left, but it was for all 3 days, plus the balcony at the Orpheum. The Orpheum has got a balcony area where you can sit if you want, or just overlook the venue. Yeah, it's a pretty cool part of the venue, and you can fit about 80 to 90. I believe it's 80 people up there, so we had about 80 of those type of tickets. So those are going fast, but yeah, you do have all those different options. There's a large amount of options for the tickets, and so when you go there, you can see what all the options are.
Nice. So if you are a baller shot caller, which I am not, that is what you would do to then look down from above at the play.
Yeah, that's the last. Yeah, and that's for the last day. But yeah, so if you, I mean, and then all, like I said, there's a lot of options on there for anybody depending on what you want to do. Because again, some people may not be able to make every single day, and so that's why we we gave the option of just buying single day tickets if you prefer. But we I think all 3 days are worth going to personally, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. All right, this has been very exciting. I'm really glad that you kind of shared and talked with us about this, Mark. So, Communion After Dark, the Castle, and Absolution Fest. Excited for all of them and to talk to you in the future. From us here at Sounds and Shadows, I suggest everybody go get your tickets and go see this. I'm going to try and make it down there. I'm close.
Awesome. I would love to see you, Ken. That'd be nice to meet you.
Yeah. Everybody out there, keep it dark, y'all.